What about now? Can you guys hear me now? Is that a better situation or no? No, still nothing. Oh, so frustrating. So goddamn frustrating. Still no audio. Okay, hold on. All right. Yes, sounds. Is it good now? Okay, all good now. Am I good now? We can hear you now. Good, 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 good. Okay. Yes, yes. Does it sound like I'm on my mic or does it sound like I'm on this? I'm not in a tunnel or anything, right? It sounds good on this microphone. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. Now, as I was saying to start off this damn thing, sorry about that, y'all. I guess I'll have to edit it out, little parts of this whole situation. So, great. So, anyway, I just watched the finale for The Penguin. This is not a watch along for The Penguin. That's not what we're doing here. This is a reaction. I do these every once in a while for certain shows. I did it for Game of Thrones. I did it for House of the Dragon. I think I did it yeah, and I did it for Ahsoka way back when. I used to do these when I would just jump on after I watched the episode and talk about it with you all. So thanks to everybody who's joining me right now. And just letting you know, this is a how can I say this? This is a spoiler-filled conversation. I'm trying to only go an hour tonight, but who knows? There's so much to talk about. And we do have a Geek Buddies spoiler review that's coming up on Tuesday. And I will post my reaction to the episode sometime tomorrow. Also, I'll have my Gladiator 2 review up tomorrow as well. So look for that as well. But I just thought I'd go live here. And once again, this is a spoiler situation. I don't even have, do I have a thing? I think I have a thing I can play. Do I have that on this thing? No, I don't. Oh, I thought I had a thing I could play that's like a spoiler review or spoiler situation here. But yeah, that's the situation. Penguin episode 8. This one was called A Great or Little Thing, directed by Jennifer Getzinger, written by Lauren LaFranc, the showrunner here. And what an episode it was. We got real deep into the psyche of the penguin. Clearly has a lot of Oedipal shit going on with his mom. He brings his relationship with Victor to an end. And the battles that ensue in this entire episode, psychologically and strategically, I thought were incredible to witness. Kristen Milioti doing an incredible job with Sofia Gigante, but logically, she is still a newbie in this game. And because she's a newbie in this game, she gets bit a couple of times here in this episode. And the final end to where she ends up, I think, is a fate worse than death at the time. And of course, we got a few Easter eggs throughout, but we've got a couple of really big moments when she gets the letter in the prison, and then when we see the signal in the sky at the end. So again, I'm going to say this one more time. This is a spoiler situation. So if you have not seen it, please don't watch right now because this is a spoiler situation. So that being said, let's get into it. I thought this finale was incredible. An hour and 8 minutes, and it was over before I knew it was over. I'm such a fan of great acting and great writing. So when you bring in phenomenal talents like Colin Farrell and Deidre O'Connell and Renzi Feliz and Kristen Milioti rather, and all these fantastic actors throughout the main actors throughout, and you give them these juicy things to play, you see them rise to the occasion. And of course, I think Jennifer Getzinger did a wonderful job directing this one as well. No real kind of action. There's like a shootout, but there's not a lot of action. But the action is in the conversation. The action is in the stress and the tension of whether Oz is going to be able to pull off what he's pulling off, what it's going to lead to, and what happens with Sophia and her best laid plans, and where the future lies for Sophia and for Victor. So there's a lot that happened here in this episode, but the main focus was really the relationship with Oz and his mom, which of course they teased us in the last episode. Well, they showed us in the last episode when we went all the way back to when he was a kid. We see that he killed his brothers. They drowned there in the Gotham sewer. We see that he had a very unhealthy obsession with his mom and needing his mom's love and wanting to be caressed by his mom. Some kids, listen, you can argue, what do you call it? You can argue nature or nurture, But some kids come out of the womb needing more attention than other kids. Some kids need that constant stroke, some kids don't. So it's all sometimes just how you're born and how you're built for whatever reason, and how your personality develops through as a child. I'm no child psychologist or sociologist, so I have no real like kind of anything to point to. But from my own experience, the experience I've had growing up, it's that kind of situation where certain kids come out a certain way, and certainly he came out as Francis says in the episode, he came out as a demon. He was the devil in her house, and she knew it the whole time. So the first part of the episode is everything that happens in Monroe's and Francis getting regressed back in regress therapy back to that moment where homie Rex Calabrese comes in, and they have a conversation about what Oswald did. So Oswald is who we had to rely on for telling this story. And clearly, Oswald, as he's been throughout the whole series, is an unreliable narrator. And there was much more going on. His mom knew what he did, and hated him from that day forward because he fooled her, he lied to her, and he had her watch his favorite movie, Top Hat, together and distracted his mom from going to find her boy. So the whole time she's watching the movie, her boys are drowning. So there's a massive amount of guilt that I'm sure she carries. And then, of course, that scene with her and Rex at the table, she's essentially saying, like, I don't know what to do with this kid because, as I said, he's the devil in the house. And then Rex offers to kill him for her. Apparently, he infers it. You could just get rid of him. And she's like, what do you mean get rid of him? And there's that look, and you know what that means. So madness, utter madness here in what's going on. So from Oswald's point of view, he's got his mom, and he develops a very unhealthy obsession with his mother. It is very Oedipal, as we see later when he's dancing with Eve, and she's wearing the dress that his mom wore the night they went dancing. And then we see the scene with him and his mom at the club, and the things he says to his mom is something that a boyfriend would say when he's trying to woo you, or a potential suitor is trying to say to win your hand in marriage. I'm going to take you to the top. We're going to be rich and successful, and I'll always believe in you. No one loves you the way I love you. Is very toxic, very codependent, very abusive emotional language being used there by a young kid like Oswald, who is gaslighting and trying to manipulate his mother into his control. And this is something that Oz does throughout his entire life, clearly, as we see him throughout the series, doing that same kind of thing with all these different people, like Sophia, like Victor, like all these people. He's using them, saying what he needs to say in order to get what he wants. And he fools himself, deludes himself, lies to himself that he's doing it for his mom, when he's really doing it always for himself. And I have a feeling that a lot of you know someone like this, who creates narratives where they are constantly either the victim or the hero, and that everyone else is at fault. And they try to make you believe in their narrative. They try to make you sign up for their narrative or subscribe to their narrative in order to be able to function in conversations or in relationships or in friendships, or at work. We all have that boss that is always like, we've all had that boss where everything is y'all's fault and not his fault. And if you had just told me this or that, or tries to make it seem like, hey, I'm saving you, or I'm helping you out in this situation, when in fact it helps him out. And certainly that's what Oz is. And throughout the episode, we see that sort of that opening and the back and forth. And essentially that's what we find out. So when Oz is woken up in the room there with Sophia and Julian Rush, what he has to confront, Sophia makes them confront each other. And at this point, I'm watching the finale and I'm like, wait, what? What is going on here? Why is she so obsessed with this? And clearly Sophia is working out her own dysfunctional parental situation through Oz and Francis. And she thinks that if she can hurt Oz in this way, she might be able to break him and makes him easier to kill. Or maybe she's just sitting there going, you know what? This is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to hurt him and then destroy him. That's a part of this as well. I should stop at this point. I got 100 of you joining me live. Thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with me. I appreciate it madly. Please make sure, If you haven't tried my channel out, and if you like what's going on here, you like the way I'm breaking this thing down, please subscribe to the channel down below and hit that bell button. And for those of you who are also watching along with me tonight, Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. We got one already, which I will get to in just a little bit, but send them in. I'll answer them as I go along in this review. And the Streamlabs address, oh, I forgot to pin it in the chat. Let me do that real quick. In case anyone wants to send in anything, feel free to send in some Streamlabs and Super Chats here. Let me bring that up real quick and put that in the chat, and then I'll come back to them. So that's what you see in the situation with Oz and Sophia and Francis, is that clearly Sophia wants to make Oz suffer before she ends up destroying him, right? And that's what she wants. She wants to make Oz suffer before she ends up killing him, and that's the whole plan. But when she breaks his mom to the point where she finally confronts the years and years of anger that she's had towards Oz, and probably guilt for herself, that he was never taken out. And clearly she's been manipulating him from day one. What he thought was love, and what we saw and thought was love in episode 1, was her manipulating him in order to get him to achieve a certain thing, because Rex told her, guys like this, they either go crazy or they can achieve the highest of highs. And it was her way of keeping him away from her, like, go and do all these things, go and do these impossible tasks. And it might have also been her way of essentially setting him up to be killed, because she's constantly putting him in harm's way as he tries to achieve these things. He's going to confront stronger and stronger resistance as he moves up the Gotham underworld. So there is a lot behind her intentions that were revealed in this episode that I thought were incredible. If you can extrapolate them, if you put them all in context in her behavior and her actions. Then she confronts Oz when he is willing to have her finger cut off her body instead of revealing the lie to her, or revealing the truth about the lie that he told her about the brothers. And it's her saying to him, you son of a bitch, it's my fucking finger. Tell, I know what happened. I know what you did. And Oz is shocked. Now, here's Colin Farrell doing incredible work from under those prosthetics and under that makeup. Man, you felt for him in that moment. You felt his pain. You felt his shock. All of that was coming through in his eyes and his performance there. And it was devastating, just devastating to see him react to it. And Francis, of course, then gets up, stumbles over. Sophia tells everybody to hold back, and she goes at Oz, and she finally says all the things she's wanted to say to him. And it was the final fuck you from her, because he was going to let her have her finger. He believed in his lie so deeply that he was willing to let her lose her finger in order to keep the lie so he wouldn't have to tell her the truth. And she finally makes him, in essence, I don't think he ever really tells her the truth, right? But she puts it on the table and shocks him that she knows about it. And then she knows what and then she says, I hate you. I've always hated you. I spend every day hating you. So all this thought that we had that he, his mom loved him, and he felt that he had this love for his mother, and it was really keeping, and that she was being all sweet, and she believed in him, and she wanted him to succeed. We thought this is a mom who has a really unhealthy obsession with her son because he wants to achieve things in the world. But in fact, she's sending him out there to try to possibly get killed as he tries to move up the Gotham underworld. Then she snaps that bottle and stabs him. That's a final fuck you in a way to Oz. Sees her boys, has visions because of her Lewy body dementia. She walks toward them, and then she, in essence, has a stroke and goes into that vegetative state. I thought that was devastating and heartbreaking. Once again, Deidre O'Connell doing an incredible job performing and acting these scenes, and then the stroke. It was so hard. For those of you who might have older parents, might have experienced this with people, maybe some of you have even maybe had a stroke yourselves. That was something to witness for sure. And in essence, her kids are she's kind of got revenge for her boys by stabbing him, because maybe that's her way of trying to kill him. And she has the stroke. She's done what she needs to do when she's had the stroke. So it was pretty devastating. But then I was cheering as Oz went crazy, because it was finally enough that he went crazy, snapped the thing off the chair, the arm off the chair, grabbed her, killed a bunch of dudes, and then ran off with his mom, kind of like King Kong running off with Fay Ray in the original King Kong movie, taking off with her. And then and then we see Victor there trying to get it. We see Victor trying to get the crew together, and Victor oversteps his status with these guys here, and that whole situation. So we see that as another thing. So he's clearly embracing this idea of wanting to lead, wanting to be a leader here, but he's not quite there yet, which Link lets him know when he punches him in the gut and gives him some advice, telling him that he's a little too big for his britches in that moment. And then we cut to Oz in the hospital, putting his mom there. And then he takes the stuff, calls Vic, and then staples himself. Vic shows up. They have this really touching conversation about what they want to do, how Oz is losing a little bit of confidence about what he has to do. And boom, Vic is like, no, you need to get up in there. You need to take care of business. You gave people hope. You put the lights on. You got water running. You gave them jobs. Like, yeah, it's jobs in a drug underworld, but it's still jobs. So in essence, he was turning him into a bit of a mini politician by saying, for Crown Point, you are the man of the people, and which is what Sophia calls him later in the car, a man of the people, which is something Oz didn't even consider or think about. And I love that they have a little moment where he's like, oh, you practiced that, huh? He's like, hey, you need to project from the gut. That was hilarious. So, I mean, just a great beginning, setting everybody up. Victor's, who had been kind of out of the last episode, and Oz was wondering why he was ghosting him and not returning his calls. Clearly, it was because Victor was going and rounding up all the gang leaders to come and try to help Oz. They all think Oz is dead under the rubble. So when he escapes and does what he does, Sophia somehow gets all the gangs to show up at her house very quickly, which is slightly unbelievable. A little Game of Thrones type of time travel, so to speak. And she essentially offers them to kill or bring Oswald to her, and they will have control of her empire because she's going to leave Gotham. She doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. She's going to get out. She sets fire to everything in her house, burns it to the ground, including the watch she was going to give her dad. And metaphorically, she's burning her past to the ground so she can start all over again, right? So she did it in the first step by killing everybody with the gas and stuff and leaving Gia alive. Now she's doing it by destroying the entire compound there. So she's officially, essentially on her own and a free agent. But the twists and turns, they head to the Goodwin Airport, and that's part of the comics there. And she gets tricked by Zhao and Link and Penguin and Victor turn on her, which I kind of saw coming a mile away, and they take control of the situation. But before we go to that ending, I do want to talk about the congressman, right? This is Penguin's thing. Even when he's on the ropes, he can bring it together, charm the person he needs to charm, and then make that connection. So we see that he's there with Bella Real, who was the mayor, who got shot at the end of the Batman. She's there in her sling. And this congressman, was it Haiti? Is that his name? Because he's in the comics. Where is it? I know it's here somewhere. Yeah, Haiti. Congressman Haiti. That's Reese Quiro. He is there, and they work out a deal. And this is how the Penguin moves his way into high society, is by essentially impersonating someone who belongs in that level of the government or level of the society because of his look and his appearance and his status, right? Essentially, sane washing, as some people use that term recently, whitewashing himself so that he can scrub his past and start all over again as the Penguin. So in a way, Sophia and him are kind of setting fire to their past in a way to start all over in a new life, a new status. It's interesting, the correlative things that happen there. But that makes all the sense in the world. Hades in the comics, I think he becomes mayor in the comics as well, a corrupt Gotham mayor. So maybe we're laying the groundwork for either a season 2, or he does something to Bella Real and he takes over and becomes the mayor in Gotham. We will see what ends up in the Batman Part 2. But the twist on Sophia, I kind of saw that coming. The second's in command. It makes sense, right? This has been the narrative throughout the season. This idea of the people who've been stepped on, pushed down, kept at a certain place by the people on top, because the people on top want to keep their status as long as they can. Vic comes up with the idea, working with Link, to essentially have all the seconds turn on their leaders so that they can take over. And in essence, setting fire to those leaderships so that they can step up and take control of their respective gangs and work with the Penguin. So a whole new reality where these gang leaders are now fully committed to the Penguin, not questioning the Penguin, because the Penguin helped them achieve their ascendancy to the top of their respective crime gang. So this is so interesting the way this all goes down. And then he walks her out, drives Sophia out for old time's sakes. He drives her out to this area. They have a conversation about, him being a man of the people, and her essentially saying to him, "Oh, you think I don't know what it's like to be overlooked? You think I don't know what it's like?" And he tries his eat the rich argument. You're the kind of person that doesn't understand how much you have on your plate, or you think because you give off your plate, you're doing something big. And she's essentially saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. I've suffered too. I've been overlooked, stepped on, and destroyed by men in my life. And so she's essentially trying to say that. Then they have that touching moment there. At least it was touching for me, watching Sophia essentially surrender herself to death and saying, go ahead, and then she turns around and has that breath. And I guessed on the reaction that he wasn't going to do it. And sure enough, he didn't. And the helicopters, what he had done is worked out with Congressman Haiti, that he was going to essentially blame her for everything, as you saw in their exchange with Sal's death, the blowing up of everything. And so everything was manipulated and moved so that it could be hung on Sophia. So she gets a fate worse than death. I bet she would have welcomed death instead of going back to Arkham. But she goes back to Arkham, and that's the deal. And of course, we also found out that Francis was in a vegetative state. So that's and then Penguin achieves what he achieves, gets to that hospital, and his mom can't see it because his mom has had the massive stroke. So there's a tragedy in that, but it's also, I think, poetic justice. He's a criminal who has killed everybody in his way to achieve the things that he wanted to achieve. And he did it in his mind. He thinks he's lied to himself, said he did it for his mom, when in fact he did it for himself. And the fact that his mom can't appreciate and stroke his hair and kiss his butt and tell him he's amazing, even though, because he won't believe that his mom hates him, even though his mom said to him, "I hate you," and stabbed him, he's still in love with his mother very deeply, which is super Oedipal, like Oedipus complex. Look that up if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. And then he's like, he can't see, or she can't see that he's achieved the thing that he said he was going to achieve. And the acting here from Colin Farrell in that hospital room, that is the thing that's going to win him the Emmy if he gets nominated, in my opinion, because the range of emotions he goes through are so believable and heartbreaking and tough to watch. I got a little emotional watching it myself, having lost a parent, in my past, and it was devastating to witness that scene. And I thought he acted it like just no holds barred. They very smartly did not have Renzi Feliz in the room, did not have another nurse in the room. It was just him breaking down in front of his mom and weeping for not being able to. Well, I guess Renzi was, but they didn't cut to him weeping from the pain of his mom not being able to tell him that she's proud of him and that she's happy that he achieved what he achieved. So then we cut to, I think we see the Penguin now. He goes to sit down with Vic. They're sitting there and they're having their conversation and they're drinking. And he says to him, like, all these things, I could have done it without you, kid. It was great ideas, kid, and blah, blah, blah. And it leads to one of the most shocking moments of the show. Now, Shannon McClung had predicted in our Geek Buddies finales, he said, like, I think Vic is going to die. I think Vic's going to die. And sure enough, I said it in my reaction. You guys can watch it tomorrow. I said in my reaction, like, oh my God, like, why did Vic call him family? Because Penguin Oswald kills his family or causes his family to have a stroke, like with Francis. He doesn't like family. And sure enough, he kills Victor. He chokes Victor to death. The poor kid, he chokes him to death because he's a good guy, because he's a good heart. So just like I said, because he's a hero in his heart, because he's a good man in his heart, Vic kills him. Vic kills him. Or sorry, Oswald kills him. Oswald kills Vic because Vic is good in his heart. It's what I've been saying for weeks in my reviews, that Vic is a good person. He's not going to turn evil. So possibly Shannon won this, but Something that popped up a couple of weeks ago, which I hadn't considered. I said a few weeks ago that I thought he could be the next Robin, or he could be a Robin, right? Someone a couple of weeks ago put out the theory that he could be Red Hood. Now, Jason Todd. Now, what happens at the end? He takes his money and he throws Victor's ID into the river. In essence, washing away his identity, right? Symbolically. So we know what happens in the comics. Jason Todd is resuscitated after the Joker kills him with a crowbar. What they did here is have Sophia knock him out with a crowbar, but it's the Penguin who kills him. So it's very possible that I think we've seen the beginning of Red Hood, and Victor Aguilar becomes Jason Todd and becomes the Red Hood, and the Red Hood fights against criminals and heroes when the heroes are being hypocritical. So I think that's very possible. I don't think Victor is dead. I think it's super possible that he becomes Red Hood. So that could be super, super interesting down the road. So we will see when that happens. I mean, I just throw that out there. It could be Jason Todd and all of that. So we will see if that's what happens with him. But, then we cut to yeah, Jody says that's a stretch, Rocha. Vic wasn't killed because he was going to kill because it was a weakness. No, he was killed. Go back and watch the scene. Oz literally says, you're a good man. You've got a good heart. So, yes, he killed him because he was a weakness for Oz. But why was he a weakness for Oz? Because he was a good man. And Oz felt guilty because he saw the goodness of Vic from the beginning, because he was a good kid. That's why Oz kills Vic. That's what it was. That's not a stretch. That's actually the truth. So, yes, do I think Reeves is going to pull some Lazarus Pit? Yeah, it's very possible. Why not? It's very possible. There is ground-based stuff in, obviously, the Batman and the Penguin, but he could make the Lazarus Pit work. Vat Reeves could make it work. We've got Julian Rush doing some kind of red light that gets people into a certain headspace. So why it's not that much of a leap to have a Lazarus Pit down the road. Ra's al Ghul could make an appearance. We will see. Just throwing it out there. So I thought that was really cool. And then we get to the finale, and the finale is him, all dressed up with that awesome purple car. He's got it back now in a way better version of it. He's wearing his top hat and tails, in essence, just like the movie. We see the stand, the umbrella stand, so that's a nice hint of what's to come. And then we see him enter into that place. I think that's Carmine's place. Used to be Carmine's place, goes all the way to the top. I think, correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys. And then we see his mom in a vegetative state. She got the penthouse she wanted. We see a tear come down her cheek. But is the tear coming down her cheek because she's happy, or because she's sad that she's essentially in another living hell now in the penthouse with her son taking care of her, who won't let her go? And then he walks out, and Eve is dressed as his mom, same hairstyle, same dress that she wore that night they went dancing. And he has her tell him the things that he wanted his mom to tell her. That is super messed up, man. They have such a codependent, toxic relationship, Oswald and his mom. Clearly, Oswald is, in essence, how can I say this correctly? He is in love with his mother beyond being in love with his mother as a son. It's not a sexual love, but it is very much a boyfriend or husband type of love. Like, his mom is essentially his one great love in his life, right? And the way he spoke to her when he was 10 years old there at the bar in Monroe's, and then here, taking care of her, keeping her alive, a la kind of like Dr. Freeze. He's in love with her madly, but he has Eve essentially as a sexual surrogate for his mom. So dressing her up as his mom, having her say all the things that he's going to say, and then later he's going to have sex with her. Clearly, he has been doing this for quite some time, because if you remember a few episodes ago, when Oz is struggling and she says she can't go with him, he's not sure what's going to happen, and he breaks down, she says those things that his mom says to him, right? And I thought that was she was just trying to appease him so they wouldn't kill her or hurt her or anything. But no, this is a game that they've done. And remember, Sophia even confronts Eve and says, wow, you wear these wigs, you dress up, you become these things that men want you to become. So I think she's been cosplaying as Oz's mom for his Oedipal fantasies of having sex with his mom without actually physically having sex with his mom. He uses Eve as a surrogate, which is super fucking dark, man. Super fucking sick. So that is interesting to explore and to have in this show. And this is why people were so frustrated when Warner Brothers couldn't get DC right, because a lot of people think the DC stories have much more depth and complexity to them. They explore the darkness a lot more harder. Look, nothing against Marvel. I think you can make a case for both, right? But I think what I'm trying to say is that a lot of reasons why people were upset that Warner Brothers wasn't getting DC right is because they weren't going into these darker places with characters like the Batman or the characters from the Batman universe. And Matt Reeves has done that with the Batman and now with Penguin. Of course, Lauren LaFranc, being the showrunner for this and creator, deserves a majority of the credit. But Matt Reeves, the executive producer of it all, overseeing it, going like, yes, go in that direction, explore that, let's have that. And shout out to the WB execs who were okay with this being the direction they go in. A lot of times, studios, get super worried about, well, you're messing around with some, edible shit. I don't want that in my. I can't sell that to kids. But thank God WB is like cool with this direction they're going in, because I think this is what's going to bring people back to DC in strong ways. And we'll see when Superman comes out next year. So to me, I thought that was a hell of a fucking ending, man, that he is dancing with his mom, or dancing with Eve, rather, who's a surrogate for his mom. It's super dark, man. Super insane. And she's in the other room. So it's even more like, what the fuck? But then we do have a final shot or a final scene with Sophia where she gets a letter from Selena Kyle. So where are we going with that? Yeah, they're sisters, half sisters rather. Their father killed both of their mothers, so there's a connection here. And she's in the other town. I can't remember the name of the other. Starts with a B. She's in the other town. So is she going to come back now? Are they going to come together? Is Sophia going to essentially be kind of an anti-hero, be on the Batman side, but obsessed with taking down the Penguin or killing the Penguin? How is that going to play itself out? So this is going to be fascinating to see what they explore here. And maybe Selena is admitting that she's a Catwoman, admitting that she's had, she has knowledge of Penguin's way of doing business. Remember, she was working for him at the Iceberg Lounge in the Batman. So possibilities abound about where we're going with all of this stuff. So I'm excited. I thought this was a great finale. Yeah, it was devoid of action beyond a shootout, but there was so much action going on in the conversations, in the back and forths, and in the things they were exploring with these characters that I thought was Bloodhaven. Fantastic. Yeah, there you go. Bloodhaven. Thank you guys for reminding me Bloodhaven. That's where she went there. So yes, Frank, great catch. Michael Giacchino's score played, the Catwoman theme played there when she got the letter. So that was a nice little, I'm not always good at catching that stuff. So because I'm not a score whore type of person, like Shannon and Michael are on the Geek Buddies, respect to them. But it was nice to hear that. Like it was like, oh. So that was cool to see. So clearly there's more to go. So I love the way they ended this show. They said it's going to lead into the Batman 2, and clearly it will lead into the Batman 2. And so we've got now a different Penguin. We've got a Penguin who is not the same Penguin that Batman got the best of in the Batman. This is a different Penguin. This is a Penguin who's been through hell and back. This is a Penguin that's now at the top of the Gotham crime underworld. He's a whole nother person. He's a stronger person. He's a more wily person. He's a more clever person, and he survived. And he's willing to kill or destroy anyone in his way. So now he's a much more formidable villain for Robert Pattinson's The Batman when we get the Batman Part 2. We'll see what's Sophia and Selena's situation is. Does Dr. Julian Rush become the Scarecrow? A lot of people were considering that, or someone else. Eve Carlo. Carlo is the surname for the gentleman who became Clayface in the comics. Does Eve become Clayface? Is there an accident, an experiment? Does he try to kill her in some way because of something? Maybe she realizes how sick this stuff is that she's doing with him and wants out. I don't know. Any number of things are possible there with that situation. And what will happen with the Batman is we see the signal at the end there when the Penguin dancing with Eve. Where has the Batman been? Apparently it's going to be explained why he wasn't available. Maybe he was kidnapped. Maybe he was in Europe on some other mission. So it's going to be explained. So maybe there'll be some time jumping in the Batman Part 2 where we go back to around the middle of the series here with the Penguin, and it's something else is going on here that keeps him from coming out of the dark. So I thought that was pretty cool on so many levels. Yeah, great points. Our Eve is kind of like Clayface in a way because she plays all these different characters. She plays all these different roles to satisfy people. And in essence, and Clayface was an actor before what happened to him when he was trying to get that woman. So we will see for sure. Fred says, I was digging the Godfather echoes when Oz was driving Sophia. Yeah. I could see that. I was actually watching The Godfather this afternoon for about an hour because the 4Ks are being shown on Amazon Prime. They are gorgeous. They are gorgeous, the 4K transfers. And I just was casually watching about an hour and a half of it. I was hanging out with my Patreon friends, the Patreon people there in a hangout tonight for an hour and a half. And I had The Godfather on as we were discussing all the stuff that went on this week, both in the election and entertainment wise. And it was a great conversation. But yeah, I was watching so I hear you, man. I had The Godfather in my mind as I was watching this. Also, a little Goodfellas when Penguin takes her out to that area by the bridge. A little Goodfellas in that as well. But certainly the stuff with it. Don't forget the cannoli is certainly a possibility there at the end. But yeah, so some interesting moves here. Penguin is now in charge. The second in commands are now the firsts, so they're all loyal to him. Everyone's gonna eat, as the kids like to say, thanks to the Penguin. Victor is gone for now. Sophia is in prison, but will eventually be someone who comes in and messes with the Penguin. And I wonder if he left her alive, not just to be the scapegoat for all this stuff, but also because in some strange fucked up way, he does care about her and does feel guilty that him turning on her sent her into Arkham Asylum. But at the end, the big person that Oz is lying to is to himself. He's lying to himself that what he's done, he did it all for his mom. It was all for his mom, to get his mom's approval, to get his mom's love. But this is all a lie, in my opinion. Everything Penguin has done is for himself. He's just used his mom or other people as the shield for him being able to achieve these things, because he wanted to achieve these things to feel like a big man, to not feel like a lesser than, to not feel like second in command. He wanted to rule everything, And people create all kinds of narratives to validate the things they do to achieve success. It's not out of the realm of possibility for someone like that. I mean, we may have elected someone like that, to be honest with you, to run our country, who creates narratives that make him look like the hero in all the situations because his fragile little ego can't handle, being seen as someone who's not a winner. So you see that with the Penguin for sure throughout. So fascinating stuff. All right, so we got some Streamlabs that came through, or super chats came through. Let me hit those here and keep leaving your comments or leaving your super chat. Streamlabs, you want to me to answer anything? Godzilla, oh, that's a great avatar, bro. Respect. Says, theory for Batman 2. Could they end up making Eve Clayface down the line? Her last name is Carlo, and once Oz finds out, she sold him out to Sophia. Right. Also, R.I.P. Vic, my number one guy. Aguilar, yeah, you are my number one guy. Yeah, good reference there to 1989's Batman. Yeah, that's super possible because she did sell him out to Sophia. So will the Penguin find that out eventually? Will Sophia tell him to fuck with him? Because remember, she tried to destroy him through his mom. She could definitely try to destroy him through Eve down the road. So yeah, that could be super possible. Listen, you guys are like Lazarus Pit. Matt Reeves won't do a Lazarus Pit. At some point, you can't resist that there's comic book madness with all the villains here. And I mean, how are you going to explain some of these villains if you explore them in the Batman universe? You're going to have to explain some of the fantastical stuff. It's going to happen. So, he can only resist for so long, Matt Reeves. He might not even be doing it by the time that happens. Chilla Basis says McClung was right. Yeah, for now. That's all I'll say. Wiley says, I love how this world brings back the importance of a soundtrack. The music choices in the show had a massive impact. It felt like classic HBO. Wiley, you're 100% right. And, I know you've been studying this stuff. You're on top of this stuff. YouTube channel and what have you. doing all this stuff with music. So you catch this stuff, and I think that's great that you bring that up because you're right. Because the song they played when she's setting fire to her house, that was a really great song. The Catwoman theme coming in when she gets that letter from Selena, and then these other musical cues throughout. I mean, even the way they did the Penguin title page after all that stuff happened at the opening, it was like dun dun dun. It was like so massive, and they used the scores in the cues rather and the score in the right way through some critical moments throughout this episode, throughout the whole season, really, to be honest with you. So yeah, great point, Wiley. Appreciate that. Yes, boy says, guess what did Selena write to Sophia? I don't know. I don't know what Selena wrote to Sophia. It's a good question. Like, are they coming together? Girl, I've been there. Girl power. You know, I lost my mom to that son of a bitch too. Like, let me teach you the other side of things. Let me show you another opportunity, another path your life could go in. Because remember, she was going to leave. She had all this money. She was going to leave. All the money's probably gone now. And she was going to kill Penguin and take off in the plane. Didn't happen. So she's got to rebuild her life again. So maybe Selena offers her an opening there to do that. Yes, boy says he has a weakness because he saw him grieve for his mom. We saw him grieve for his mom. Yeah, sure. A weakness, sure. War Table Entertainment and Gaming Network says Vic could be Talon from the Court of Owls. That's a deep cut. I mean, sure, very possible. That's a deep cut. It surely felt like they were going towards Court of Owls when you saw Penguin walking into the hearing room and banging the gavel for Congressman Haiti was in the room. So it's very, very possible that, you know, this could be a little Court of Owls reference. A lot of people think Batman 2 might be Court of Owls. People think Mr. Freeze might be Batman 2. So there's a lot of possibilities here. So we don't know where it could go. So Talon's possible, War Table for sure. War Table says Matt Reeves said Batman 2 is another detective story. Really excited. Oh, that's great. So we're going ground based as well. Look, I'm not saying Red Hood shows up. I mean, maybe Red Hood shows up in Batman Part 2. It's very possible. I just don't think we've seen the end of Victor. I think that would be a horrible way for him to go out. I really do. I get it that you are, helping Penguin become the villain by being killed in this way, but he was a good kid who came, who Penguin took under his wing. For him to kill him in that way, it has to mean something more rather than just, oh, here's another inner city kid killed by a criminal in order to achieve what they want to achieve. So I would hate that was Victor's end. I would hope, because Lauren LaFranc has spoke so openly about her love for Victor and the character of Victor, that he wasn't just killed in service of the lead. Like, I want his death to mean more than just that. And so I'm hoping it's hope that it's more than that. But, you guys might be right. It might not be more than that. And it is what it is. And Rocha, you just have to deal with it. So it's a very possible situation. I just would be super bummed if that's the path they go in, because I think Victor deserved better than that. And I think Renzi Feliz's performance deserved better than that. So, but I just have a feeling that we're going to see him back in some way. There's a significance to him throwing the ID into the water. It was more than just like, oh, now no one's going to know who this kid is. It was more, I think it was more of a washing of his identity. So we will see. All right, we got a couple of Streamlabs came through. Feedback said, thanks for doing this. Vic was being the hero until he wasn't going where Oz was. Then he had a hard time breathing. Yeah, I guess he did have a hard time breathing. When you're getting choked out, you have a hard time breathing. But Vic killed him because he was a good man. That's what he says. I mean, don't make me bring up the episode. I might bring up the episode right now and just click over to that picture. Feedback also says, I wonder what Grand Tale Oz is going to spin about Vic being a neighborhood hero and the sacrifice he made. Oh, yeah. Oswald finally looks like he's embracing the Penguin name. 100%. Great point, Feedback, because remember, it was him who came up with the idea, him who figured it out with Link, and then got all the seconds in command, in essence, to go along with killing their superiors in terms of the hierarchy so they could take over their respective gangs. Very well could have been that Oz has to spin some narratives so he doesn't face a mutiny from these guys who believed in Victor. Because remember, near the beginning of this episode, Victor was yelling at those guys a little bit, stepping past the station that he was at a little bit, and yelling at all them, calling them cowards because they won't go find Penguin. So these things could play themselves out in interesting ways, and I wonder what narrative he is going to up with to try to explain the situation. So we will see. Frank says Vic chose his path when he didn't get on that bus. Yeah, but it's not that simple. You watch enough shows, and I've certainly watched enough shows, decades of shows, and I know when great writers and great showrunners understand. I understand how when they do certain things and why they do certain things, and why they leave certain things open ended. And I just don't think Vic is dead. I think you don't work that hard to create that character. You don't give that character so much life, and then have him just be choked out randomly as they're sitting by the water. That doesn't make sense. So I just have a feeling that we will get more from Vic down the road. Those guys got killed off except for Link. The top guys all got killed. The seconds in command took the top. The seconds in command killed all the heads of the gangs so that they could take over their respective gangs because they were tired of being in second place in those gangs. It was very Godfather-esque with Michael Corleone, taking care of the head of the five families at the end of The Godfather, for God's sakes. Foe says cope. I don't know what that means. Why do people use these terms? Cope. You cope. It's like, what are you, 12? Grow up, man. What does cope mean? I don't understand the kind of people we're raising in our society who say stupid shit like that. Like, give me a full comment. What's your actual intelligent commentary on what we're talking about? Cope is what a child would say to snicker to themselves if they think they got the best of someone. Like, come on, my man. Grow the fuck up. Let's see. Selena will break Sophia out of Arkham. That's what Catwoman does. It makes sense. Yeah, that's a great point. That's an excellent point. I like that idea. It could be possible down the road for sure. It was very telling. Oh, yeah. So let's talk about this real quick and then we'll wrap up, I think, because we're getting close to an hour. I don't want to go more than an hour because I know everyone's got stuff to do here. And I've got to record a review for Gladiator 2 that I'm going to have up tomorrow at some point. Frank says it was very telling how arrogant and naive Sophia was in this episode. It is, but let's make it clear. Like, Sophia is a good person who got destroyed by her family. Yes, she's a woman of privilege, a daughter of privilege, what have you. But her family turned her into this madness, right? Essentially, all this stuff happened to her because her family, her dad specifically, put her in Arkham, and then her dad had forced all these people to write these letters to keep Sophia in Arkham for 10 years. So she's been through hell, and her mind is unstable and not 100% right. And she tried to get the best of Penguin with Francis, but Penguin's been at this game much longer. Sophia's parachuting in, thinking she can make up for years of lost time being a criminal or a gang leader, and she can't. And so it makes sense, all the sense of the world narratively, that the Penguin got the best of her in the end, because that's what he would do. But he left her alive, and I think he left her alive, yes, because it fit his needs to frame her, but also fit his needs, his guilt of what he did to her early on. I have to believe that that's a part of it, for him, because although I think he's a criminal, I think there are some weird there's a weird moral compass that the Penguin has, that Oswald has for certain people in his life, and especially women, right? And in the episode, in the series, he kills no women. He kills men like crazy, but I don't think he kills any women. He leaves Sophia alive. He loves Eve, and he, makes sure his mom is still alive in the vegetative state there in that penthouse. So he doesn't have an obsession to kill women. There's not a thing there, right? Men, no problem, but women, he treats differently. So it's an interesting thing. Sterling Jones says, I didn't see Sophia getting that letter from her half sister, nor Vic getting choked out. Did you watch the episode? I mean, it's right near the end of the episode, both of those scenes, bro. Maybe go back and watch the whole episode, brother man. So, oh right, he killed Salvatore's wife. You're right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay, all right, fine. Maybe he did, but I mean, that's her turning on. She's a gang leader with her husband, so. In essence, maybe he didn't see it in the same way, but fair point. She is a woman. He killed her. I stand corrected on that, but yeah, all right. I stand corrected on that. I'll leave it be. I think there's ways to explain that, but it's a fair point to bring up that, Roberta Jordan says, I love you. Yeah, right. Exactly. Thank you, Roberto. Yep. Thanks for clarifying that with other people. RIP Mo Green from the guy. Yes, exactly. Ryan says, Deidre O'Connell, I hope he gets awards left. I agree. This episode and the last episode, the episode throughout the whole season, actually, I should say that through all the season, she was incredible. Because it was Emily Mead, I think that's the actress's name in the last episode. I thought she was great as young Frances, but Deidre O'Connell throughout the whole series has been nothing short of a diamond throughout the whole series, man. They gave her more to do as the series went along. And as she got more to do, she got to shine even brighter. And I thought that was great. The casting on this was just on point. Fantastic all across the board. From Colin Farrell, who was doing Emmy level work, to Kristen Milioti, to Renzi Feliz, to Deidre O'Connell. It was great stuff. Just great stuff. All of them being a part of this. Even Mark Strong for the cameo he got to come in and playing Sophia's dad, I thought worked in replacing Torturo. So yeah, good stuff all around. So a great finale, an exciting finale, a good ending to this, because I think some people were afraid after last episode that this wouldn't land the plane. The finale wouldn't land the plane and wrap up storylines, but still leave some open-ended ones to lead us into Batman Part 2. And I feel like this finale did. I think it wrapped up things really well. Was it a little quick, the gang stuff? Yes. I think that's the only negative thing I have about the whole season of The Penguin is the gang stuff was never really built up as strongly as it should have been. But in the end, the show was so good that you kind of overlook that and buy into the twists and turns that happened throughout the entire season. So, yeah, big fan of the show. I think this is immediately an instant classic series of a show. I think this is a show all of us can go back and rewatch and find new and interesting things to appreciate about the world that Lauren LaFranc created here. And shout out to her, man. I mean, just incredible work from top to bottom. Of course, Matt Reeves is executive producer, but Lauren LaFranc is was the captain of this particular ship there. And she was incredible in bringing the right directors, the right writers, the right actors, and developing this thing so strongly, so powerfully, and giving us another taste of the Matt Reeves DC universe that's underneath the umbrella of the James Gunn DC universe. He has his own kind of fiefdom. That's what I'm calling it now. And I hope he doesn't go anywhere else, man. I like Matt Reeves doing this stuff. I hope he stays for a while, fleshing out Gotham. And then eventually we see who the Batman's going to be. A lot of people are thinking more and more that Robert Pattinson's going to make that jump into James Gunn's DC universe. We will see. We will see. Shay Markel says, Shay, good to see you. Says it's tragic that Oz needed help as a child. He clearly has mental issues. Unfortunately, his mother hates him too much to get him help and healing. Well, like his mother said, he came out already kind of like a devil. So yes, it would have been great if his mom could have got him therapy. But I mean, they were living in a very poor situation. Therapy is expensive. No matter how much there's possibilities to apply for money or apply for loans or whatever, therapy is expensive. And so in the end, he has to suffer through what he has to suffer through, but he became what he became, and he achieved the top of the pile despite his upbringing, despite his mental issues. He still became a success for that particular path that he chose to walk in life. So yeah, he did need help as a child, but in the end, how many people get help with in Gotham? There's a lot of unstable people in Gotham, for God's sake. So all right, so there we go. I think that's good. Yeah. Did I miss anybody else's? I want to check one more if I see any more Streamlabs. No. All right, cool. I think that's everything. Yeah. Let's wrap it up there because we're almost at an hour. I didn't want to stay on too long. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, madly. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that bell button as well. Leave your comments about what you thought of the finale in the comment section. My reaction will be out tomorrow afternoon. So for those of you who want to see me reacting to the big moments, probably about a 25 to 30 minute video, that'll be up tomorrow. And then we'll let you know what our review, the time for our review on Tuesday for the Geek Buddies, whether we're going live or recording a review. I will let you know what's going on with that through my social media, which you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. So thanks, guys. And if you want to watch a new episode of Spill the Tequila with me and Winston A. Marshall, that is up on the channel right now. We recorded it this morning, or we went live this morning and had a fun time talking all the Marvel trailers from yesterday, D23, but also we got into the post-election hangout and or hangover and did our analysis of what happened in the election and what we felt about it coming out of the election. So I thought it was a pretty good show. Just to toot my horn a little bit, I thought it was a pretty good show. So if you guys want to listen to us, you can watch that on the channel as well. And of course, me and Harloff tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll have some fun talking about all the stuff we're talking about. All right, much love to you guys. Peace, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new reaction video or review here on the Outlaw Nation. Take care until then.